In the latest with the Spurs Arena news, San Antonio Mayor Gene Ortiz-Jones has requested a special meeting Thursday, August 13th, for an ordinance to take the Spurs Arena funding from the city and get it on the November ballot. Council has already approved the funding as of last August, while Bexar County voters approved their part last November. And in the NFL Hall of Fame game last night, a thriller, Panthers got the win.
This is Extra Innings with Pleasure.
Truth is, I am Iron Man.
Rock and roll! The Texans win it!
You've been called the Da Vinci of our time. What do you say to that?
Absolutely ridiculous. I don't paint.
That ball is history! A walk-off home run!
And it's going to be legendary.
James Pledger wraps your day with insight, opinion, plenty of sarcasm, and of course, your calls. He'll even pour a beer out the door for his favorite story of the day. This is Extra Innings with Pledger. Now, here's Pledge.
Welcome into Extra Innings with Pledger here on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star. I am James Pledger. Thank you for joining me, however you may be joining me, whether that's 94.1 on your FM dial. If you happen to be locked in and listening live at sasportstar.com via our AA Best Bail Bonds audio player, or if you happen to be watching our show live on YouTube, we appreciate that first and foremost. You could also be listening in our audio vault at sasportstar.com via our AA Best Bail Bonds audio player, or if you're watching on YouTube, that's right, we stream all of our shows live right there on YouTube. Just go to sasportstar.com. Go ahead and like and subscribe while you're there. You're able to come along with the show like Fred Records already up in there doing. Or you can always feel free to call in 210-656-ESPN, 656-3776 if you want to have a conversation. Love to have the conversation with y'all here on Extra Innings with Pledger. And you heard it last night, Hall of Fame game, baby. And it was quite the game. And just incredible call from Mike Tirico for not just any preseason game, but the very first one.
Game on the line. King, he's going to step up. Pumps, runs, goal line. Is he in? Yes! Carolina wins! Haynes King. King of the night.
Look at him.
Whole team's out there mobbing him.
It's party time in Canton, Ohio. I tell you what, he pulled it out, didn't he? I mean, when he had to have it, take off and run. Let's go to your top skill. And he got it done. Completed great passes.
That's so cool.
Love it. Great night. Great night in Canton.
That is just a terrific start to season 107 of the National Football League. 48 more preseason games.
48 more preseason games to get us to the regular season. They start next week, and of course, you can catch the Cowboys ones right here on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star starting next Saturday when they open things up out there in the desert, I believe, against the Arizona Cardinals. Nope, sorry, up north, Seattle Seahawks, then the Cardinals, then they come home to take on the New Orleans Saints. But you can catch all of those games right here on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star. Your home for the Dallas Cowboys, including the preseason. And, man, I'll tell you what, it was phenomenal. It was great. You saw really, really impressive things out of both Haynes King last night, which a little bit of a shock for a lot of people. And Carson Beck proved himself very, very well, putting Jacoby Brissett on notice very early out there in Arizona. So, man, some of the takeaways from last night's game were absolutely phenomenal. Earlier this morning, AJ and Rob breaking down that Hall of Fame game as we got our first taste of football.
The Panthers victorious thanks to fighting Texas Aggie, Haynes King.
You know, Jimbo,
Rob,
that little cross needs to be hung right around Jimbo's neck. Poor Haynes King.
I mean, listen.
Hey, man, he had a 6-year college career.
Yeah, he's doing all right. Scored 3 touchdowns, threw for 2, ran for 1 yesterday, and was the hero of the day.
Yeah, man.
At the Hall of Fame game.
To quote Chris Collingsworth, here's a guy.
Here's a guy
that doesn't have good footwork, but it's got to make the team.
Yeah.
So.
Well, good for him. Hell of a day for him. Both quarterbacks for Arizona, I thought this was going to be a low-scoring, grimy-ass game. There was no defense being played.
None.
Arizona combines to go 24 of 29 passing. Carson Beck had 4 passes hit the ground. Keaton Slovis had 1 pass hit the ground.
Where do I know that name?
He was a USC quarterback. He bounced around a little bit.
Did he end up at like New Mexico? Where did he end up?
I think it was at West Virginia.
Maybe that was. Yeah. Okay.
But he bounced around a bit. He was like supposed to be the big noise.
Yeah, that's when he went to USC. He was like the dude coming out of high school. Well, I'll tell you.
It was Pitt. It was he went. He was at USC, then he went to Pitt, and then he went to BYU.
I think I remember him from BYU. Didn't he get hurt? Whatever the case was. If you were running offense as a Cardinal, there wasn't a defender within 3 yards of anybody all night long.
No.
You'd had to work to not complete the pass. It would be a physical drop. There was never a small window to throw into all night, except for Beck hit a deep ball where his wide receiver got cracked. Other than that, it was 7-on-7 football.
Well, fun times. No, and it ain't for me.
It shouldn't be for anybody. And if we weren't so thirsty, if it wasn't so, it would be a dead thing. And now let's just stop preseason and move on because I got my taste. I've seen it now. I don't need to prolong this. In fact, if we just didn't play another game, because you see what it's like until the real stuff.
Now, the Hall of Fame game, even more so than a regular preseason game, is junk football. It's a bunch of guys who are not going to make the NFL roster. Like, they don't want to risk anything at this point.
Yeah.
Anybody who's a real NFL player they're not in game shape yet, or like the team doesn't want them taking any extra risks. So those guys aren't playing. This is a bum squad.
Well, good teams have the good players actually coaching the players in these first games, kind of getting in there and not only looking at the defenses like you're a player, but also learning to work with these rookies, as you go through the season. So I don't expect much, but I do think that Carson Beck, at least by his performance, ensured that he is going to play on a football team this year.
Probably so.
And I think Haynes King might have done the same. Now, after that, there was nobody I could name that really stood out. But the fact is, it was an easy football game to watch for at least 2 quarters. I didn't see the second half, but for 2 quarters, it wasn't one of those 3-0 slogs where you had just inept football and missed blocks and missed tackles and all the stuff that goes into horrible preseason games. None of that, at least offensively, for both teams. They moved the ball up and down the field, so at least it kept you entertained. And the first half's also kind of cool because they intersperse it with the dudes that are getting in. So you get to see some of the highlights and see those guys get interviewed. So that was kind of cool, too. But after about 45 minutes of that, I've had enough.
Yeah, chances are good. Beck and Slovis, who are the 3rd and 4th guys on the depth chart in Arizona, they're probably fighting to if they play well in the preseason,
practice squad.
One of them gets dumped and they're hoping they get picked up by.
Yeah, I think
more than likely Slovis would get dumped. They used a 3rd-round pick on Carson Beck. They want him,
and he looked like it. He looked worthy of an investment. He's not ready against those clowns, though. He did all right.
But right now they've got Jacoby Brissett and Gardner Minshew, 2 backup quarterbacks.
So he can at least he has somebody to model after.
Yes,
because that's what he's going to be.
Arizona collecting backup quarterbacks right now. They've got some of the best out there.
Well, they understand their mission.
Hell, so do the Panthers. Kenny Pickett, one of the best. I mean, they got some. There's some good backup quarterbacks between those 2 rosters.
Yeah, challenge himself some Pickett. Little hands Pickett.
Oh yes, Haynes actually would be a decent scout team
fast
quarterback.
As all get out, man. I'll give him that. He's got acceleration like Lamar Jackson acceleration. Now he has 0 footwork and really little understanding of the modern NFL passing game, but he's fast. I'll give him.
Yeah, my guess is that that was a really good showing for him. They have to be happy with what they saw out of that.
Undrafted, so fell in their lap.
And right now, I think it's only Bryce Young and Kenny Pickett ahead of him, so that there is an opportunity there. And when you got a quarterback who can move like that, that's a great practice squad.
It helps. It does. If that'll keep him paid. You make millions of dollars playing practice quarterback.
Or Keaton Slovis could be looking for a job when all is said and done. I've got a very special birthday shout out to give out as a friend of the show, listener, Justin Guerrero. His daughter Natalia turning 16 today, and fan of the show, of the program, of the station, or at least she has to be because she listens while he's around. Now she's 16. She gets her own car. Do we get another car with a listener, or does the radio certainly change moving forward? It's going to be very interesting to see. But appreciate you. Happy birthday, Natalia, and have a great time and a safe time out on the road now that you're 16 and can be driving on your own. This is Extra Innings with Pledger. I am James Pledger right here on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star. I saw in the chat Billy Dow talking about the Texans. Look, Keelan Rutledge looks like the real deal. That offensive line has been reformed with the additions of Wyatt Teller, and there is a good opportunity for C.J. Stroud this season to prove what he hadn't had his entire time in Houston. He has finally in an offensive line. Can the Texans take that next step finally and get into the AFC Championship and potentially a Super Bowl and maybe even win it? That's going to be interesting to kind of find out. Also going to be interesting to find out if the Cowboys can potentially do something like that, because they have someone that is also, like Keelan Rutledge and the Houston Texans offensive line, shifted the mindset of the team, that being defensive coordinator Christian Parker, who was on the Blitz earlier today as they wrapped up their time in training camp. AA Best Bail Bonds Dallas Cowboys training camp coverage with the Blitz, brought to you by Southern Recipe Small Batch Pork Rinds and AARP of San Antonio. Man, I was already a fan of Christian Parker, and hearing him today became even more of a fan of Christian Parker. I'll play some of that interview as we continue here on Extra Innings with Pledger on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
AJ Hoffman and Rob Thompson in the morning.
Coming up on the AJ and Rob show, we are one weekend closer to real live football, Rob.
Real live football's close. Are we going to be able to hold on to these Spurs? The mayor's going to have listening sessions. We'll figure out what that means. And all you did over the weekend. Get here early. Party starts at 6.
AJ and Rob, weekday mornings 6 to 10. 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
If you get arrested, get out of jail fast by calling AA Best Bail Bonds, 210-225-21.
Nobody beats that price and have payment plans. Call 210-225-2121 or mybestbailbonds.com. License number 149.
Did you hear? Allstate car insurance now costs even less. So when you bundle with home, you can save even more. Check Allstate first to bundle and save for the new lower auto rate. You're in good hands with Allstate. Not available in every state. Only applicable for new auto insurance business. Rates will vary by several factors, including how you purchase the policy. Potential savings may vary. Allstate North American Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois. Straight Talk Wireless presents Pickup Truck Wisdom.
If you're only good to your new friends, you're not going to have the old ones. Straight Talk gets it. That's why new and existing customers get free 5G phones on Verizon's 5G network. Pretty simple, really. You keep good people by being good people.
Find us at straighttalk.com and Walmart. Straight Talk Wireless. Straightforward. Always. Taxes and fees apply. Plan purchase required for pre-phone offers. Copyright 2026 Verizon.
When you've got real work to do, Metal Supermarkets will help you get it done fast. With a huge variety of metals in stock, we can help no matter what job comes your way. And we cut to size. Because just like taxes and BS, we think metal is better than cut. Metal Supermarkets, the convenient stores for metal. Find the store or shop online at metalsupermarkets.com.
Baseball season is in full swing. There's no better place to be than Kalshi, America's #1 prediction market platform. Last week, New York trading 13% to win it all. A $100 trade pays out $712 to win. On Kalshi, you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house. And as the probability changes, you can buy in and out of your position. Download the Kalshi app and use code UPDATE to get up to $500 in bonus credits when you trade $25. Kalshi, trade on anything. 18 plus only. State where it's legal to trade.
Available markets may differ from those mentioned. Bonus credits do not expire. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. For more information, see Kalshi.com/regulatory.
Welcome back into Extra Innings with Pledger here on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star. I am James Pledger. Appreciate y'all joining me tonight, however you may be joining me. Dallas Cowboys training camp wrapped up for the Blitz today. Our AA Best Bail Bonds Dallas Cowboys training camp brought to you in part by Southern Recipe, Small Batch Pork Rinds, and AARP. And they kind of ended it with a bang today as they got the new defensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys, Christian Parker, who has been spoken very highly of by whether it's the Joneses, Brian Schottenheimer, the players, and now you hear from him yourself and you're just like, wow, this dude, he's got an it factor to him and cool as a cucumber on top of that. And he could be just what is needed to help turn around this defense, along with the additions and subtractions they made in the offseason to kind of revamp this entire unit. And hearing from them today with Jason and Joe, Christian Parker just exudes confidence.
Now on Iran and the NDAA.
Back here at Cowboys training camp, Oxnard, California, it is Friday. And boy, I tell you what, it's been a fun week, that is for sure. And, well, the cherry on top just walked into the room.
Absolutely. New defensive coordinator Christian Parker joining us here on the Blitz. I know it's a first full week in pads. What's the week been like for you, man?
It's been good, just staying on track with the schedule, installation. Being in the second week, kind of getting the rhythm of, we do meetings here, walk through here, practice here, then do the mock game and all that kind of stuff. So just trying to stay on track with the schedule.
When you come into this training camp as a defensive coordinator, your first time as a DC, what's been the challenges for you as you've taken this job and moved forward?
I would say, we get the schedules and everything in the summertime or at the end of spring, and first couple of installs we got that done, and then when things kind of change and the ebbs and flows at camp happen, like do you stick to the script, do you kind of divert a little bit and kind of get some ideas we might like or some switch ups and when to, when not to make sure that we're kind of staying in a rhythm. You want to challenge the guys mentally, but also kind of give them a breather some days to kind of review the other things they've done. So I think that's probably been the main thing, just I've kind of been able to try to focus on.
When you think about getting this job and you go through the interview process, and Brian Schottenheimer's talked about all the interviews that he did, and you get the job and everything everybody hears about you is incredible. You're a bigger rock star than some of the players out there with what the fans are talking about. Caleb Downs has yet to play it down. You've yet to call a play as a DC, but you got to manage those expectations. How do you do that?
Not pay attention to them. I think that's the first step is whatever happens outside the walls, outside the building, I can't allow that to kind of seep into the building. And I tell the players that, so I got to walk that way myself. So I think everything is just about the process that we go through, the work that we put in, being detailed, being organized, staying ahead of the curve for the guys, just making sure that we're preaching the right message to them daily, and things will work out in our favor.
Coach, it's interesting because when we walked in here, we've been talking about it all week. There just seems to be a different vibe around this camp than there has been the last couple of years. And obviously a lot of the credit goes to you, Caleb Downs, and some of the infusion of youth that's been here. The defense seems to be much different. When I say that, the guys are flying around. The offensive guys have talked about it, how different it is, and they're on track and on pace. I mean, when you hear stuff like that, do you feel like, hey, my message is getting across and we're getting this done, even though there's a long way to go?
It's good, especially when you hear from the offensive perspective, because they really feel it and going against it, but I'm still just going off the silent tape. I try to turn the audio down on those things and just make sure that I'm trusting my eyes, and the staff is doing the same thing with what we see. And that is confirming it, though. The guys are doing a great job in terms of studying hard. We're having the right habits from a preparation standpoint, from a play style standpoint, from an awareness standpoint, and we just got to keep chipping away at that each and every day.
When you think about the opportunity, and obviously at 34, you're a coordinator already. So you got to take a job when it's offered. But you were in Philadelphia. What were your impressions of the Cowboys before you had the interview process and going through it with getting the types of players that you want?
Yeah, I think, the first thing is obviously going against this offense and how high-powered it was. I didn't sleep much those 2 weeks. And I've actually played Dallas everywhere I've been when I was in, Green Bay as a QC to Denver and everything else. But, I obviously have a lot of trust and faith in Dak. I think he does a great job. And even being with him now, the type of leader he is on the day-to-day basis has been very impressive. And then you just kind of have, real guys and real firepower. And I think that, my job, the reason I got hired was to make sure that we do the best that we can be on defense. I think that, it started off with the hiring of the staff, which I think we did a great job with. These assistants are performing at a high level, and we have a very collaborative operation on there on our side of the ball. And then it goes to the players. And, in order for the players to be connected in the manner we want them to be connected in, we have to be that way as a staff. And so we've been able to do that so far, and the players are following suit, and it's been real fun.
Coach, it's interesting. We talked with Donovan Ezraku yesterday, and we asked him about last year's defense, and he said, hearing that and the way they finished, it made him sick to his stomach. Those are his words. Do you see, especially with some of the second, third-year guys that have been here a while, a little more of a chip on their shoulder to get this defense turned around?
That's hard for me to answer because I wasn't here to see what it was like before. I can say that everybody's motivated and everybody's have laser focus right now. So whatever happened before we got here, I can't really speak to because I wasn't here. But I just know that looking at the guys that we have in terms of how they operate now is the way that we want them to operate.
Well, and there's been such incredible turnover from players that are on the field to the entire defensive coaching staff. How difficult is it to get everybody on the same page?
I think the first thing you got to do is turn the page.
Yeah.
So we try to make sure that, if we weren't here, then there's nothing to talk about. You know what I'm saying? So got the players, we have the coaches, like what are we focused on moving forward? That has to be the most important thing. That's how it has to be during the season. Last game doesn't matter, win or loss. You got to wipe it clean, 24-hour rule, and you got to keep it moving to the next one. Because if you're still thinking about the last one, whether it's good or bad, it's not going to allow you to be in the moment for the next thing that you have to try to attack. So I think that's how we've been this whole offseason. There hasn't been a lot of talk about last year or the year before or anything like that. It's been about the present moment that we're in and taking advantage of that.
So moving forward, an expectation to you, what do you see this defense looking like? I don't know, week 1, week 6, week 10. Do you look that far ahead, or how do you approach that?
No, I think that obviously you have you have different target points and goals in mind in terms of how you want things to feel and look, what you want to get in from a schematic perspective, what you want to kind of sort through by the time you get to certain points in the year and this training camp. I never want to put like a certain expectation on anything just because you don't know how things are going to transpire. But I will say the process has been right for us to amp up to week 1. Now, week 1's not going to be perfect. It never is for anybody in the NFL. So you want to make sure that you're doing the things to put players in uncomfortable positions for the unscouted looks and everything else that we're going to get during that week. So whether that's more call-it periods, whether that's not giving the linebacker a call on a certain play so he can just call it on his own, and that's something we've talked about already. Like those different things is what you want to prepare for. Make it a little bit uncomfortable. The good thing is we have enough competition on our side of the ball, and there's enough competition in practice that certainly everybody's attention is directed in the right way. We just got to keep that going.
Christian Parker, Cowboys defensive coordinator, with us here on the Blitz 94.1 at San Antonio Sports Star. CP, you talk about that defense, the secondary, and that's kind of where you've made your bones in the NFL. Overall, in your secondary, who has really flashed in your mind?
Man, to be honest with you, and I don't want to just give you a PR answer.
No cliches, right?
Yeah, everybody's kind of had their moment in terms of just making something happen in the structure of the defense. And so that's been really cool to see because you see guys, and the best thing is when one guy makes a play, all of them feel like they made the play. You see the excitement on all levels of the defense. Those guys are connecting well. So you just see everybody taking a step forward, and I think it's a big credit to, D.A. Smitty and Rob Muschamp in terms of what they're instilling in that position room from a style of play and a brand standpoint. And then just making sure that everybody's connected, knowing when you're on the island, knowing when you're working with somebody else. I think we're starting to understand that at a higher level.
A couple of years ago, Bland had a ton of interceptions. Obviously, he's got to get healthy, and that will help. But how do you teach creating the turnovers?
Well, we call them takeaways.
Okay.
Because we're taking the ball, the offense, and turning it over to
See,
us.
I just learned something. You taught me.
That's the first thing. I think, the first thing is doing your job. And I think when you know what your job is and you know what the person next to you is doing, then you can have more awareness to be ball aware. So you talk about ball awareness all the time. We do circuits for that. When are the opportunities for me to punch? When are the opportunities for me to glove the pocket? When are the opportunities for me to get tip ball? Well, I can't get a tip ball unless I'm around the ball. I can't get around the ball unless I'm having maximum effort. So all those things are what leads to having the ball awareness. A lot of times you try to make sure that you're bringing guys in the building in your onboarding process and free agency in the draft who have natural ball production. Because usually if you've had prior ball production, you're going to have it moving forward. That's usually how that works because guys just have a trait and instinct. And our job as coaches is to put them in more situations to raise that awareness. So, you saw the punch out by RG on day one, then Maris and Julius Wood had one the other day. That's awareness. You have to have that on your mind when you're approaching the ball carrier. Quickly decide, is this just going to be a firm tackle? Because if I'm the first man in, I got to make the tackle first. We don't sacrifice the tackle for the ball. So making that tackle, all right, I'm second man in, or I got that non-aggressive angle, then I'm working my punch and trying to get that thing out. So teaching those situations and building the awareness is how you get more takeaways.
It's interesting that you say that because I don't know how many times Shotty has said that what a great teacher you are. He said you're probably one of the best teachers that he's been around, and he's been around a lot of good coaches throughout his career. When you hear something like that from the head coach, how does that make you feel? And have you always been like that?
I just want to make him right. I think that's the main thing. Like when you hear something like that, then that's my job to continue to prove that each and every day, and to make sure that the players feel the same way too. So I think that, it's a daily process of just, every time I step in front of the defense, every time we step on the practice field, that's an opportunity for all of us to get better, myself included. There's some meetings that I didn't really like the flow of it maybe, and I know I need to switch that up, or maybe I just changed something in real time up there because I know the energy of the room. We just came off 3 straight days, the energy's a little low, and we switch it up and just kind of get them on their feet, move some things around. But just making sure that you can be malleable in that aspect, and just, prove the people right that believe in you every day.
One of the things, Christian, that Brian Schottenheimer said the other day that I found worthy of wanting to know more about it. A lot of coordinators, a lot of coaches, they want to control everything. He said that you allow your position coaches to coach those positions. As a young guy, how hard is it to not have that total control or just be everywhere all the time?
I think that I've had great examples of that with the guys that I've worked with that allowed me to do my job. Now, there's a coaching element. Like my position group now, I don't coach the DBs anymore. I coach the coaches first. And so when you coach the coaches first and you have productive meetings and it's a open environment for guys to speak on, asking questions, what do they see, what do they not see, how can we tweak this, make it better, then that you can trust those guys in those rooms. Now,
great stuff from Christian Parker today. And if you missed any of that, you can catch the full interview at sasportstar.com and our AA Best Bail Bonds audio vault, or you can also get it on our YouTube page. It is played at the 2:30, and if you want to watch the video, 5:15. So go back, check that out. Call your loved ones, check on them. You never know what people are going through in life, and a simple "hey, how you doing" can change everything. Coming up next, we have Rangers and Orioles as they start a 3-game series, just a game and a half back of the Astros. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Ladies and gentlemen, the weekend.
Life is too short to drive the same car every day. A Pascucci Prestige membership gives you access to an incredible collection of exotic